Let's broke Voltron up into 5 parts. Each part a robot lion.
Welcome back to the Threezero Hangout. This is Mike, and today I want to talk to you about the Threezero Voltron. It's fully transforming Voltron, and it's a premium high-end one. I did get this at Showsium. I have a link down below where you can get yours, but I'm going to talk about the individual lion modes, show the transformation, weapons, accessories, functions, and all that kind of stuff. Then I'm going to compare them to all of his predecessors, and I'm going to give you a little bit of tidbits, side notes on each one of these when we come to comparisons. We'll talk about this some more. Coming up! So here's the packaging. I do like the packaging. It looks really good from pretty much all the angles. I like the artwork on it, all that kind of stuff. And here is the top of it. You can see Voltron forming the sword. Here we go with the side, and you see all the lions. And the back more, well, this isn't even artwork. This is the actual product, so looking pretty good. And the other side just kind of looks like a mirror image of that one. But what I like the most is that it opens up, and you have this. You can actually see the figure, the product. Now, it does kind of have some baggies and stuff to protect all of it and all that kind of stuff, but it looks really good in the packaging, so you can display it either way. And that's important. You know, this day and age, not very much of this third-party stuff, or, well, this is officially licensed, but not very much of this higher-end stuff can be displayed in the package. This actually can. Looks good. Okay, right out of the box, there's a few things to say. First of all, I want to say that they did pack it ready to form Voltron. So I didn't form Voltron, I just moved it into the Lion mode, because we will be forming Voltron later. But I appreciate that, and if I was just buying this as a Voltron fan myself, I would have literally formed Voltron, put it on the shelf, and call it a day. But having to put it into each individual mode, I'm starting to notice a feeling that it feels a step down from the Blitzway. Now, Blitzway is 2 1/3 times more price, so 2.33 times more expensive. But this is, I guess, more of a budget option. But it does feel premium in areas. There's a lot of paint in certain areas and stuff like that. So we're going to get into each one of those and each one of these. So I did armor them up, and then we'll take a look at these, and then see if we can get them in the good kitty mode, and then we'll combine it. Okay, starting out with Big Daddy Black Lion. He looks pretty good. I am having trouble having him hold this. I might be doing something wrong here, but I do know they're trying to protect this face. And so they did not put anything in it really to hold it in place. So that's kind of a challenge. All the rest of them have tabs, but this one has a face. So I accept that. I'm okay with it. Plus, I don't display it in this mode anyway. And if you just get it on there, put it on a shelf like this, it'll stay fine. But if you move around a lot, but it does have a really nice paint job. Where it's black, it's painted black. Where it's red, it's painted. These are painted, so that is good. The tail is painted, so you want to be careful with all of those areas. Now, I'll say it this time, and then when I form it, I'll say it again. But the chrome, the lack of chrome, is something I don't like. But I feel less stress about scratching this than I would if it was chrome. So we do have drop-down hips on this, so that's a thing. You can have drop-down hips if you wanted to on this. Now, it's more for the combined mode, but if you want to get like a wider range, I do like the drop-down hips, and I do like the feeling of the hardware. I feel like it's going to be solid in combined mode, which is what I care about the most. Now, getting into a few things with him, he does have some articulation in his face there, and you can see sort of like in his jaw, you see sort of like a gun. That's not the face, that's the gun. The face is up here, so something like that. Some nice paint right here, and would have been nice if this was like gold chrome instead of just gold paint, but it's fine. Yellow paint right there. There's some neck articulation, which it feels like it should go deeper into it. And then there's like this button here, which I'm not sure exactly what the button does. I'm sure I'll figure that out down the road. And then the shoulders, they do have articulations side to side, and you could go out quite a bit of range, but again, I do think that's for the butterfly, so we can hold a sword. And then down here we do have a little bit of articulation in the foot. Now, all this articulation that he has, all of the rest of them have similar type articulation, not that much right there, but it's very similar in the rest of it. and articulation in the foot down here too. So pretty good. Now he does come with these two like missile launchers, but no missiles to launch, and that's fine. And then he comes with this. So Black Lion looking pretty good. Let's move on to the next ones. Next up, I want to get into the arm bots, the green and the red lions, which are very similar. They have some differences to them, but let's go ahead and look at the red lion, and then we'll just take a quick look at the green lion. So similar kind of stuff. Now this one, with this weapon, it tabs into the top, and it is painted. There's a lot of paint to that weapon, and they do have out, in and out, but it's a lot less, and this is very similar, the way it transforms, to the Blitzway. It does have these weapons that plug into the side, the very specific weapons for each lion, which is usual. This piece right here goes up and down. Got kind of a missile launcher going on right there, and then you can get some... I didn't know that was going to happen. Popped off, but you can get some range to those legs. Just popped it back on off camera. This the legs are on ball joints, or sort of ball joints, I guess. But yeah. Don't stress that too far. It pops off. I'd rather it pop off and pop back on than break. But here we go with the tail. It does have tail articulation right there, and this tail is removable. It pops on and off. Ball joint, and there's some metal in this too. So there's a bit, not a ton of die-cast metal, but a little bit here and there. So that kind of works. And so with that, the green lion, very similar. Everything else, articulation is the same. Weapon plugging in is the same. He has this top piece right here. These side weapons are a little bit different, but yeah, everything else is about the same, except of course rounded instead of squared. And so the arm bots, let's go ahead and move on to the leg bots. Okay, so getting into the legs, the yellow and blue lions. Now, there's more stuff that we're going to see with all the lions in the lion modes before we move into combining it. But I got to leave some stuff for the good kitty poses, which you're going to see here in a bit. So anyhow, looking at them, they're both pretty much the same, kind of similar like we've seen before. We're going to take on the yellow lion because there's one thing about him that really surprised me. And looking at everything I see, I thought this red piece would go up, but it doesn't, and it doesn't look like it does. It looks like the cannon simply just articulates up and down. So that's a little bit different for me, but there's quite a bit of paint. Like everywhere it's yellow is painted. Silver, silver, silver. And, I think even the weapons are painted, which is interesting. Even those weapons are painted. Now, I don't think that the ears open on it. If they do, might be missing something. But they don't look too open, and there's no joint in there, so I don't think the ears open. I'm not seeing that. So I won't try it. But anyhow, here's his weapon, his accessory. He's got this spiky accessory on the side there. We do have the leg covers there. We do have the butt gap, that spring, and then articulated tail, just a little bit on a ball joint up and down, all that kind of stuff. And so same kind of stuff we're going to see with the blue line over here with his weapons and accessories on him. And he does look pretty good. Now, he does have his piece, that signature part that pops up. Boom. And he has these weapons. Now, one of his weapons doesn't hold on as well as I would like. I mean, it'll hold on for display just fine. Yeah, I guess I got to push it in harder. But it's kind of this missile launcher thing, and I have it upside down now. So I get it in good, and it's upside down. There we go. All right, so now it's in good. And then he's got whatever this is. I don't know. It's a triple missile launcher. Now, I did put on this saw, and it's really not supposed to be used for anything until we get it into combine mode. But it goes right there, just in case I forget in combine mode all about that saw. It's not something I think about. And articulated tail and that kind of stuff. Not lots of paint. Now, I do want to say that I thought the blue was going to be metallic. It's like a flat metallic. I don't know how to explain it. It's not a shiny metallic, a flat metallic. It's like a machined blue. It doesn't look bad, but it's. I just thought it'd be brighter and pop, but it's different. So I don't know. I don't know if I dislike it. I don't think I dislike it. And I do feel like the joints. Okay, so the feet feel more solid on the legs, and on the arms, these are really loose. So I'm not sure. I'm sure it's because they're smaller. It's just much, much, much smaller. But with that, these feel really solid. So anyhow, not too bad. Let's look at them in the good kitty pose. Okay, so I lovingly call this the good kitty pose, and there's a reason for that. It's because they're sitting like they're cats, like real cats. And how close can we get to what they look like in the animation? I don't know. It's really kind of hard. but it's not the best I've seen with the Voltron to get into this pose, but it's not the worst that I've seen. Each one of them have their own pluses and minuses to getting into this pose, and I will show you on the arm. So we do have this, and I didn't show this because he was holding his weapon, but we have a double-barreled gun going on right in there that kind of folds up, which is pretty cool. And you do have ab articulation, sort of, I guess is what you would call it, and then it does have a swivel, and all this has to do with combine mode, but then you can get the feet up, and you can sort of splay the legs just a little bit on these, and then you can get these straight down, so you can kind of get it into a nice good kitty pose. And there he is. Now, same thing with the legs, but this one you get more of a splay in the legs, so that really makes it look better in this pose. And then I've seen in both these, in this one, and this one, there's this like large missile that obviously it comes up, but I'm not brave enough to like get a screwdriver or anything in there. I don't use spudgers and stuff. I can't get it out with my nail, and it doesn't mean enough to me to care. But I do want to point out, when it comes to all three of these, I can't quite get their heads down like you can with these. And so with these, it pull out and they move down. I can't get the same thing going on right there. I can't get his flaps to open. But none of that's a deal breaker for me. All right, let's go ahead and form Voltron. We're going to do accelerated method. And so before and after. Move on. No, just kidding. I did do one. Just do one leg at a time. And well, one leg, then one arm, and all that kind of stuff. Fold in the tail. And then we need to get the legs sort of out of the way. And we're going to fold this out. And then there's a double joint in here. We're going to fold it all the way out. We're going to fold the leg in and then compress it in. Now, one downside that I didn't talk about in cat mode is because of all this, there are some gaps, some gappiness in here that wasn't covered, but it's not a huge deal to me. So let's get this here. Pull this out. Fold this in. You want to kind of squeeze them because they do articulate out, and then we're folding this over. Now, there is a tab right here, a slot right here. And so that should line up just right. Just kind of hold it in place. It's not really anything super tight. It's just a little bit of something to help it hold in place. Now, I did have issues on my Blitzway with that. So one of the tabs on one of the things didn't tab in because there was so much chrome and so much paint. And I just didn't want to rub it off. And I just didn't care. So I was like, oh, I'd rather not rub it off. So we're going to fold, well, close the mouth, I guess. Fold this up to where it's about a 90-degree angle. And that's going to be some articulation it's going to have for you in the mode. You can go up and down a bit in the mode here. Now it does have the gappiness in the front too. But we're going to put this to about here. And then put this to about here. And then once it's folded like this, you can compress it and it will squeeze in. It'll squeeze in just right. Last thing you want to do is you want to fold out this heel spur right here. And then you have pretty solid foundation to start building your Voltron. Okay, same sort of situation right here. I got to get it more in frame because the legs are bigger, so these are smaller. Okay, so what we're going to do is kind of move the leg a little bit forward, and then we're going to open up the flap cover. And the way it appears that they want to do it is to fold this down, and there we go. Fold that in. There's a tab here, and a tab is here, and the notch is here. I don't know if I don't have too much light on this. I don't want it like being overly saturated with the light, but there's that side. And then we're gonna get this side here the same way. I did have some glue come undone. My finger slipped and I slammed onto that and I knocked that off. So I'm gonna reglue that, which is not a big deal. I mean, yeah, high-end stuff, and you got to reglue something. Not a big deal to me, but some people might flip out about that. I've repaired so much vintage stuff that like something minor like that is not a problem for me. Plus it just tabs right back into place once I'm done messing with it. But let's get this lined up. There's that. And then this collarbone tabs right back in. All right, moving back down to here. Now the lower legs are a little trickier, so they are articulated. You do want to kind of get the right level of articulation for it to pull that piece out. And then let's get that out. We're going to fold this all in and then collapse it down as much as you can. And then you're going to fold this up, and you want to line this tab with that notch. Get it aligned just right. Go in there. because you just want it to tab in and be as supportive as it can. There it goes on that side. Same thing over here. And it can be a little bit tricky, which that was super easy. So super easy. Get this go in here, tab this in, and then fold this connector down, and we have the arm. You do want to fold this so you get the elbow joint, but then you want to rotate this so you get the the proper elbow joint going on. And we have two arms ready to go to form Voltron. Now for good kitty mode, or yeah, good kitty, for the black lion, the main one. We're gonna get his legs back aligned like a humanoid form. So, and we got to get this back in place. I did do the drop hip, dropped it down, so let's get it back up where it belongs. Straighten him out a bit, and it had his legs in there like this when he was packed in, but he does need these to go into the lion. All right, yeah, right. There's the connector pieces. And then back here, we're going to fold these up, get this tail out of the way. Simple stuff, same old Voltron stuff that we always see. I find it easy right here to just go ahead and put the foot in. Am I getting all that? I've got it all adjusted so that I can do the smaller ones. All right, so the paw's going to kind of go slightly forward so it closes. Same thing on this side here. Open this up, bring the paw slightly forward so this closes. Bring this over here, and this should go in, but it will come back out for like some other stuff going on. Okay, so looking back here, get all this arranged. There's the wings, and then we aren't going to form the head until we combine it. So let's go ahead and pull this back just a bit so we can combine it. So we have the slot here, the leg that goes in here. Let's make sure this works flawlessly. There is a release button, so let's press in on the release button as we, yep. And then close that tab. Good. Same thing over here, and I guess it all has to happen from the back. Pull this out. I guess that comes out on its own. As you're pushing it in, press that on the release. Close that up. That's pretty good. It's actually pretty good. It's a nice connection point. Solid connection point from a company that doesn't do transforming transformers. Solid connection point. Now for what I hear is problematic. And so we're going to see how this works. Well, that works fine. I've heard problems with this. Maybe they fixed it. Maybe they had a problem and they fixed it. Because that actually works fine. Nothing wrong. And I form the head. Yeah, you got to save that for the last and the end and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to armor him up. I'm going to come back and take a look at this guy. Okay, so I lied. We're not going to armor him up just yet. We're going to do articulation and just take a look at this guy. But overall, I think he looks pretty good. I think they did borrow some stuff from the Blitzway, which is fine with me. And so that's great. Let's zoom in here on this face of his. And it's a nice looking face. Some people say it looks almost like he's kind of a child. I don't know. I don't really see it like that. I think he looks okay. Let's get the face down a little further. But yeah, I think it looks fine as a Voltron face. I don't. It does look a little like more narrow of a chin. Maybe even like in an anime style more than. But I mean, this did come over from Japan back in the day, so it's like to each is their own. But I don't think it looks bad. So I mean, it's obviously you look at it, it's Voltron. It's Voltron. He does have the full head and neck moves, which I love that they did that. So that looks really good. And then of course his head can go all the way up. He can look up and slightly down. But this whole neck articulation is. I thought it was kind of crazy for the cat mode, but in the bot mode, I see why they did it. So it makes sense to me. Now. Going down, this is not really, is it painted? It might be painted, yeah. It's kind of shiny right here. The symbol's kind of shiny, it looks good. Now we're in this mode here. no chrome is kind of setting back a little bit, but it doesn't look horrible. And with the SOC not having chrome, it's kind of SOC-ish on some of this. I can see that too. Okay, shoulder going out to here, and then you can do the 360, but I'm just not going to test. I'm not going to tempt fate with this thing the way they have it set up. The only got about a 90 on the elbow, a little less than a 90 on the elbow. So not a huge amount. And I do feel like some things are kind of rubbing for articulation, like these feet barely clear it. And then this here, it's just all really tight. Would have nice if it would extended. Maybe it does extend and I'm just not seeing it, but it looks good. I don't do super dynamic poses. I know a lot of people do. You do the butterfly, and so it's there so that you can get the blazing sword kind of thing going on. Yep. Okay, showing the articulation in the hands. You can kind of go in and out and all around with the hands. Same as you could do in the lion mode with the lion head and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of fun stuff there too. Now you can go out to about there with the leg on no ratchet. No ratchet here either, but it's a really strong tension. Really strong. You got thigh swivel like so you can get those good modes if you want to. Knee articulation to here, and it does have a collapsing hiding piece right there, so that's really good to get more articulation, and that looks good. So you don't break the sculpt at any angle. You never break the sculpt, so that I like that. That's something I don't know if Blitzway did that or not. Now I'm curious to have to look. And then going down further, we do have some articulation here, but you also have articulation right here. So double kind of articulation to get. So this is something they're really known for is engineering in a lot of articulation. Aside from the arms a little bit limited, the legs are very solid. And I do want to point out the figure itself just really, really solid for picking up and moving around. Not perfect figure, but a solid figure. And this tail keeps wanting to fall off. I don't like that. Okay, so he does have some ab articulation down to here, which is good. And then this sort of area right here looks like it articulates a little bit, but I can't get much out of that. And then you go about here and here, side to side. Now here he is with all of his weapons and accessories. And so the way they connect, it's very solid, very satisfying. The same way that the lion weapons connect. So it's a tab that tabs into the mouth there, and that works really well. So all over, once he's armored up and he's looking good, he is solid. And so I will give him a ton of points for looking good, being solid, and in this mode, you got a lot of paint, a lot of shine, a lot of sheen to it. Still not vac metallized chrome. I think that there's going to be less scratching with this, but I would have preferred the chrome. But, you know, I got like 5, 6, 12 of them that have chrome on them, so I guess I'll live with this not having chrome. It's another evolutionary step, or another step in the story of Voltron, a chapter in the Voltron story. But looking at the sword real quick, nothing really spectacular. The same type of silver paint that it's had before, not chrome. And then this shield. Now, it's like a star weapon or something. I always call the shield. Other people tell me the exact name of it, and I hear it, I read it, and I'm like, oh, cool, and I forget what it's called, but still, I just call it shield. So, looking good. Now it's time for the most fun part, and what I think is the most important part, comparisons. Okay, so starting smallest to largest, we're going to do a lot of comparisons here, and this, I don't know which one this one is, but this one is the motorized one. I don't remember, did Matchbox make it? I don't even remember, but the pullback and go Voltron. This is Super 7 and a KO oversize. I did the Super 7 last week just because I was getting ready for this and excited for this, and it is much shinier than what they did. They were trying to go for super cartoon. I think this is sort of in the cartoon realm too, right? Here he is next to the OG original, and I have his legs on backwards and his arms on backwards. I know that bothers people, but it's fun. But it's really still hard to beat the original. It looks good, but this looks more like the cartoon, more like what I would have expected. And if I had this one when I was messing around with this one back in the day, this one would be smashed to pieces. This is a brick, like a tank. Here's the Trendmasters This is the one that Trendmasters did. It's all plastic, and it's different. It doesn't really match the originals the way the original was. But I want to say this has pilots with it, and there's no pilots with this. No pilots. No little mini pilots or anything like that. So this one has that. All right, here's the Toynami one, and Toynami one's not great. They did things different, like the tails go in and out, and they slide in and slide out. That was different. It did have chrome on it. There's a few things. It's sort of a floppy mess. There we go. But it's got its charm. It looks and feels cheap as a Toynami. This feels way more solid and looks more the part of a Voltron, in my mind, than what Toynami did. Okay, so here he is next to the SOC Voltron, and so I want to say SOC did some stuff better, and this does some stuff better. I like the aesthetic, the contour aesthetic of this one better. I like that they added in the flap pieces. I like that better. If you look, it's like they use the exact same paint here and here on this one. So it's kind of hard to really gig this one that much for not being chrome. No chrome here. But there's chrome on the lion's legs, and that's really where the chrome is on the SOC, which I was disappointed in that with the SOC. But I guess SOC set me up for this evolutionary step to not even having chrome on the legs. But side by side, the chrome doesn't really make a big difference, except for the sword. The sword, it's hard to see on camera. The sword is a lot more impressive, and I think it's a bigger sword too. Okay, so we're starting to get into the bigger bots. After we get into these guys, they're going to be much bigger. So we're moving backwards on the review station. But I want to show next to Miracle Metalworks. And this one here was the one that was licensed. But it took them a long time to get it out. And they were trying to fix all of the issues. But they lost the license and then rushed it out at the last minute as an unlicensed item. Strange story there. So it's plagued with a lot of issues. It's not horrible. They use magnets and stuff to hold on some things. It's some really cool ideas in that. This is very straightforward, just like a solid evolutionary step from what they did, Matchbox did back in the day. And then, of course, upgraded engineering, upgraded paint aesthetics, and all that kind of stuff. And both of these are really heavy, really heavy. So miracle that thing's standing right now. But hey, a shelf of Voltron gets really boring if it's all lion bots. You need some vehicle Voltron in your display to make it look more interesting. Trust me. So next up we have the Panache Place, which is about 14 inches. It's not quite 15. It doesn't quite scale with the vehicle Voltron of past days. I did not like this one back in the day because they sacrifice a lot of the aesthetic so that you can fit the pilots in it. But now as an adult collector, I really love that they made the pilots back then, and so I accept the flaws in this. Like you can't see the red part. It's flawed. You can't see the red chest piece. Oh, I'm not gonna break it. The red chest piece goes up here to form it. It's the same problem that we have with another one we're gonna see. That's Panache Place. Here we go with the Panache Place, and Panache Place, we just did that one. This is Blitzway, the 5 Pro Studio. This is my favorite one. Talk about contrast from probably one of the worst ones, Panache Place, to Blitzway, 5 Pro Studios. This one is 15 inches tall. It is not the biggest one that they've made, but it is the best by far. And 700, 300. Which one would you pick? And I would still pick this one if I were to be able to choose just one to keep in my collection. This one and the original. So this one does it all. I like the aesthetic. This one borrows a lot and does a lot and is similar, but as you can see, it doesn't have chrome right here either. It doesn't have that chrome, but the legs are chromed. So with that, it is my favorite, hands down. It's got the chrome on the ears and stuff like that. Looks fantastic. Articulation is as good as I need for a Voltron, and everything as solid figure, premium in every way. This still feels pretty good, but it does feel like a much scaled down version of this. So this is the original vehicle Voltron from back in the 80s and Matchbox, and this one here, it's hard to get it without having something broken on it. This thing is very fragile, a lot of connector points that break and all that kind of stuff. So I think I went through a few of them to get like all the parts I needed to get one not broken. So anyhow, just a little bit of history right there. So this is the Playmate Stab at a Voltron. Now this is the second one that they made. Well, they made a whole bunch of them, but the second one they made that was substantial. And the thing about this one is that it didn't match the cartoon. This was supposed to Classic 84, I think is what they called it. But they made another one that was a completely different design. I do have that in the package somewhere, but my son has a loose one floating around here somewhere. But I'm not going to bother with that for comparison. This one here suffers from, if you move the shoulder, then that red piece goes to the top or the bottom or whatever. And it does have electronics that are very fiddly. Like, it's cool if you can get it to work, but it's real fiddly. And I think I took the batteries out of it. Yeah, or I turned it off or something, because it's just, the electronics idea is cool. The implementation was not so much. And the other thing was, they were supposed to continue this line and make big, giant, just standalone lions that you could fit the big figures in. They never finished making the figures. They never made the lions. It just stopped cold turkey, even though they announced it at a toy show it was coming. This is the Trendmasters Jumbo version, which is becoming harder and harder to get your hands on these days. And this one is riddled with Black Lion Fragile, breaks easy. But he's big, he's beefy, he looks like Voltron, but he's a little bit too stocky for my liking. But it's just one of those that, you know, I picked him up for $100 like 7 or 8 years ago. Now that's impossible. Like, it's hard to get your hands on this guy for, you know, just a few $100s. So really, actually, I think you might be paying more for this than you would for getting this guy. So now he's big with the size, and then you can put figures in there and all that kind of stuff. So that's why it's pretty interesting. And I don't think they made figures that were classic to go with this, though. Now for the infamously hated Matty Collector Voltron. He is in this pose because this is how I can fit him on my shelf and fit everything else in it, and him not fall over. So I'm going to leave him in this pose, although it looks really silly, but he's not going to fall over. I think all of the blue lions have yellowing legs. I don't know what happened with that batch of that gray plastic yellows. I almost want to grab me up a yellow lion and swap legs, but then I'm afraid I'm going to break something trying to do that. So I just said, never mind. But anyhow, I've seen almost every blue lion have those yellowing legs, unless they're still in the package, but they might still yellow. This holds the lion. The lions hold the figures, and they made fantastic figures. I mean, they're not highly articulated, but they look good, and kind of along the same lines as what Toynami's doing right now with Robotech. So anyway, yeah, this dude is big, massive, looks good, but yeah, is this a better figure? Yes. Is this impressive because of the size? Yes. Alright, so this has been my look at the Threezero Voltron, and what do I think of it? I think it is a pretty good Voltron. Overall, it does a few things. It does kind of copy the Blitzway, which I think is my favorite. The Blitzway is definitely my favorite Voltron of all of them. But this one does a few of the same things, maybe not as well, but it's over half the price, and it's in scale with a lot of other options out there, which is something I didn't touch on. So there's some good points to it. If you missed out on the SOC, or you just don't like the aesthetic, which I just don't like the shape of SOC so much. I like the contour of this one. SOC is right there. I think that this one is a better looking option, but it has less die cast. It doesn't have the same weight and mass as SOC. Doesn't have as much chrome as SOC does. But overall, it's a pretty solid release. If you're a Voltron fan, you got to pick this one up. I cringed at the Soul Chigokin price years ago for $300, but now this one at $300, I think it's setting a new minimum bar for a premium, and now it's going to be like at least $100 if there's one released at retail that's any substantial size. But I did get this at Show Z. I'm going to link down below where you can get yours. I like it. I'm keeping this thing in my collection forever, and let me know what you think in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Petty Hanger out.
Discover the secret of the lions. We could bring those 5 lions out of their hidden dens. They'd all come together and attach somehow, just like the legend says. 2 would make the legs, 2 the arms and body, and 1 lion would become the robot's head. Then we'd have Voltron, defender of the universe.